The original Season 3, Episode 11, Wild at Heart. Now, of course, I knew this was going to happen. It was fairly obvious that once Cami turned into a vampire, she was going to kind of go nuts. It was pretty easy to figure that one out. It's not a surprise. It tends to be, a real shock would be if people came out, on the other side of that totally normal. Everyone, it doesn't matter if it's from the Vampire Diaries or what, they come out weird. I think the only person that has ever been turned that didn't have some crazy like humanity off switch or just started feeding on people was probably a lark, because he got turned into like basically an original through like some crazy supernatural spell type stuff. So he pretty much instantly came out of that fine, and just kind of under control. I can't really remember, but I wasn't too surprised by that. Cami's going around. She's not her normal self. She is super evil. I will say that she'd make a great villain if they wanted to do that, because she put on the waterworks like several times in this. Like, I just don't know if I can do this, and she snaps Klaus's neck, which I knew she was gonna do, and then she totally faked out Haley towards the end of the episode, and she figured out the riddle and everything, and we find out that this little whittled horse that we've seen several times before, that horse has definitely shown up in more than just this episode. It turns out that it's been kind of painted over, and it's actually made out of the white oak. And I thought that was really cool. It was a nice little twist that there's still a little bit of white oak, left on the planet, basically, because they were pretty much invincible. They had no more white oak because it was all destroyed, or supposed to be all destroyed, I believe, in the last season. So it's supposed to be gone, and we find out there's still just a little hint of white oak left, and all they really have to do is whittle that down, or to do something, like, I don't know, like, just figure out how to make it pointy, I guess, and then they could kill all the originals off. And it's very interesting just to see how all this stuff is playing out. And we have the Strix and their their little witch coven and stuff, which is already taken down a member, which really surprised me towards the end of this episode. But it does make sense, and I like the fact that it makes sense, because before the girl even read Elijah's mind, I was like, if she can just learn everything that he knows in the instant, then he's gonna know, or she's gonna know, what happened with Rebecca. And I was like, all right, if that happens, that's a huge thing. I'm sure he's got some other secrets that they're writing as we speak, and we'll see those a little bit later. But I knew that was like the big thing. It was like, he has to keep his sister safe, because they're in like the stupidest war ever created, where it's people trying to protect the same people that want to be protected, but they're just trying to do it in the craziest ways. So I like the fact that by the end, this girl knew that she was going to be killed because of the secrets that she uncovered for herself. And I like that it makes sense. It was surprising, because it seemed like this girl was going to be like a big deal, because she was all over this episode, and they said her name probably twice, and that was it. But she's in like a ton of different scenes. She meets a bunch of different characters, and she just gets killed off, and Davina comes in, and she's going to be a replacement, basically. So it was very surprising to kind of see that play out the way that it did, because I'm sure she knew what was going to happen when she found out, but it was like she does what she's told, and we'll have to see what Aya does, now that she's lost one of her witches, and she kind of talks her up like she's insanely powerful, and she's kind of tapped into some abilities that are very hard, for other witches to tap into. So it's like, I think she's going to be super pissed off at Elijah, and she might try to put him down, obviously like with a normal stake and not try to kill him, but she might try to put him down just for that, because it's one of her greatest resources, is this mini witch coven. So I don't know if that's really going to affect her or not. I would assume it would, because she lost one of her witches. So I'm sure she'll be mad at Elijah very soon in this next episode. And then, of course, we have Davina, who's now getting wrapped up in all this stuff, because they bring back the Cole storyline, which really surprised me. And it took a huge leap. We actually got to see Cole in, this other world, and that was pretty sweet. And we got to see the original Cole, which I was wondering if they were going to do that, because I'm like, I know he obviously died in the other body, but it's his spirit, so it should show up in his original form, and he did. So I like the fact that they did it that way, that they could do it that way, because they would have to get obviously the original Cole actor to do it. But we get to see him on the other side of this. He says that Davina shouldn't get involved with the Strix, which I thought was interesting. I guess it's not surprising that he knows who they are, but when he first said it, I was like, I was a little surprised. I was like, okay, so they've obviously done enough stuff to where all of the Michelsons knew about the Strix, and he was kind of freaked out. He was like, don't, whatever it is, don't get involved with them, because it's not going to be good. Like, whatever price you'll have to pay isn't going to be worth, bringing me back. So I like that idea, because it does add a bit of a new layer. It shows that they've been causing a lot of issues since long before this very specific war about saving, their sire line. So it kind of says a lot that he's had some issues with them in the past, and it's also Cole, so he probably started those issues, to be totally honest. But I like that part of the episode, and we got to see the witch that Davina ended up getting killed, who she had Haley murder, and we saw some random faces. I don't know if that'll end up being relevant or not, but we saw a bunch of people from like the 1920s and stuff like that, so we'll see how that plays out. I was surprised that we got to see any faces. Like, no one was lit up or anything, but you could tell what people look like. So I don't know if that's just going to be like, it happened in one episode just to actually show some random people's faces, or if those couple of people we saw might actually come back into play if some crazy stuff happens and they start bringing ancestors back. If maybe the spell goes wrong and a bunch of people get brought back and we have a bunch of ancestral witches coming back to life, which would cause a lot of issues with the Michelsons, because at this point, of course, kind of the vampires are the ones in control, and if the ancestors come back, that would change dramatically, because the ancestors wouldn't really take that crap, because the witches used to run the whole city. So that would be very cool. I don't know if that's going to happen. It could have just been, we just need some random actors just to show some people in 1920s clothing, and not really older. For ancestors, their clothing was fairly modern. Like, 1920s is pretty freaking modern, considering it's supposed to be like ancestors. So I thought that was actually kind of surprising. Like, everyone was just like, 1920s isn't really ancestral at this point. But it was cool seeing this other realm. Davina does find out that she can at least, do the spell. It does actually work. So I'm sure she'll pay the price. I mean, the girl told her, like, it was worth the price that I had to pay, whatever it was. And I thought we'd learn what it was, because seemingly I thought she was just going to be like the one person that Davina really talked to in this group, but she's dead now. So I'm sure Davina will step in and she'll get this ultimate power and use this coven to her advantage so that she can bring Cole back. And I feel like that will add something to it. I don't know if the spell does end up going wrong, bring a bunch of people back or something, but Cole coming back to life in general is going to be a pretty big deal, and it might not happen until closer to the end of this season, but I am looking forward to that. And it's good to know that it's not permanently on the back burner, because I really thought for sure that with what happened to Rebecca and like her witch body, I thought they kind of just cut that storyline, at least for this season. I was like, oh man, they killed that version of Rebecca, and her whole thing was like, I'm gonna go find a way to bring Cole back to life, and then she got killed off and was reverted to her original body. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen there. So I was really glad to actually see it even be brought up again, because I thought it was just done until like next season, because they have bigger things to deal with. But I enjoyed that. I'm glad to see that it's back in the forefront. Davina's obviously going to be doing some crazy tasks for the Strix, and then we'll get to see her work to bring Cole back to life. It was good to see Josh in this episode as well. Every time he's in an episode, I'm like, man, he's been gone forever. He's always gone for too long. At least this season. He was in it quite a bit last time, but this season, I think he's only been in like maybe 3 episodes, 3, possibly 4. So when he shows up, it's like, oh, it's really good to see him, because I like his character, because he's obviously the really funny. He's like the most comedic character I think that the show's had in general outside of Cole, and I think Josh is a lot funnier than Cole, because Cole is so freaking sarcastic. It's just douchey sometimes, but with Josh, it's just genuinely funny. So it was good to see him come back. He does go to Marcel at the end, which I enjoyed, and he's like, we got to get her out of, out of alliance with the Strix. And that's going to be super dangerous for Marcel, who already had like a crazy scare in the beginning of the episode where he ends up, getting the Night card, which is also very interesting, because the other vampire got whatever the other card said. I didn't really read what the card said, but he gets his head chopped off by Aya. She wasn't taking any crap. She just whipped his head clean off. And then Marcel gets the Knight card. So that says a lot because that's in his true heart. That's supposed to be what it is. And initially, I thought there was going to be some plan where she was working for someone else and was going to tell him, like, I'm actually working for, Klaus or Elijah or something. And that's why you got this card, even though, you were both traitors. I gave you the Knight card. But then, this girl didn't have any of that stuff and she's dead. So it's like, I guess he genuinely had that, because if they did it that way, where she was working for someone else or something, or, was just told to, do that, then it would have made a lot more sense. But this I like better because it's surprising to see. It's not that it doesn't make sense. It's just a nice surprise because he doesn't. It's almost like a double agent type of thing where he's gone too far or something like that. And it's like he didn't even expect that himself. And he does like the slow reveal. And it's like, I knew he wasn't going to die right there. Because, I mean, they showed what she did. And when she chopped the guy's head off, I was like, oh, well, he's totally fine. And then, he actually did it. It was like, oh, well, if he does have that card and it is genuine, which at this point it seems like it is because they killed off the character I thought was going to have a moment with him, then that says a lot. It says something. I'm not 100% sure what, but it says a lot about something. And I like that idea. It's just him, thinking that he's just playing the Strix, but maybe he's actually getting towards something that he doesn't, consciously realize, but subconsciously there's something in him where it's like, he wants to be there for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe he really does hate Klaus so much he just wants to see him stabbed again. I don't know, but that had me really excited. It's like, that says a lot. It was supposed to be like a powerful spell and everything, and show the true hearts of everybody there. So a great little moment that I'm looking forward to seeing come back. I don't know what it means, like I said, but I'm really excited by it because it looked really cool. So I'm glad that happened. Haley had a devastating episode just dealing with Jackson being dead, so that was just like sad stuff all the way through for her character. And then Camille didn't help, and like I said, Camille just evil and losing control, and now she has the horse because she wants her dark objects back that belong to her family, which Klaus made a great point that they technically belong to his family since Cole made them, which I thought was kind of funny. And she's like, F that, it's been in my family, so it's my stuff. So now she has the one weapon that can kill them. Apparently, she runs into Vincent somehow in the next episode because it looked like she was in the graveyard again. So I don't know why she's there, or what reason she could have gone back to the graveyard. And then Klaus is going to meet her and all this other stuff. So I don't really know what to expect from this next episode, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very curious to see how Josh and Marcel help Davina get out from up under the Strix and somehow help her still bring back Cole. Because if they do that, Marcel, I'm assuming, would have to out himself, which they might still do in this season. I don't know. Honestly, I don't even know what to expect with the Strix, if they're going to make it into the next season or what's going to happen with Aya. We didn't see Lucian or Aurora in this episode either, so they're, Aurora's been taken away, and both of them are still completely gone. We even got Lucian's apartment when Cami asked the cop, I definitely don't remember his name, but she compels the cop to go to his apartment and get all this stuff. So I don't know what's happening. I thought for sure he would be the one that showed up, but it ends up being Klaus. So I don't know what's happening with those characters. I mean, I would assume they're still within the city, and it was basically the entire day. So maybe they aren't. Maybe they took off for a little bit and they'll come back into town when they feel it's safe, I guess, because it was from day to night. And if obviously those objects are all missing, which I don't know if he'd go looking for a random white box, but if he noticed, I would think he would go to the compound and be like, hey, these dark objects are here, and they're supposed to be mine, or at least I stole them, so they should be, I guess. But there's a lot of stuff in this episode that was very exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with Elijah versus Aya in the next episode, because he's kind of done with it. From the promo, I mean, they're just fighting because he wants to take control, but I'm sure she'll bring up the fact that he killed one of the witches in the next one. But I like this episode. It was surprisingly good, some of the stuff that we got to see. Like, I didn't expect a lot of the stuff to happen that actually took place. We got to see Cole come back. it was a minor moment, but like I said, we did see the witch that Davina got killed. I was surprised how quick of a moment that actually was, because the other girl just comes in and it's like, boom, and that was kind of it. She just sent her away and she was done. But we did get to see her come back. She tried to get a revenge, at which she almost got. There was another little moment with Cole when Davina looked at his face. Like you can tell, at least I couldn't tell. I couldn't see any marks really, but I'm assuming he gets beat up by the ancestors or something because he's a vampire, and technically the only reason he's there with the ancestors is because he was put into a witch's body, and that's why that was able to happen for him. So pretty curious if we're gonna get some extra story about that, if Davina decides to go back there before completing the spell to get some answers out of him, like why are they attacking him, which I would assume is because he's an original. I think it's an easy answer, but that was an interesting little moment as well. But overall, I certainly enjoyed this episode. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, we have Davina working for the Strix now, and we have Josh working with Marcel to try to help her get out of the Strix. So I want to know, where do you guys think that whole storyline is going to go? Because everything right now, I think so far everything's pretty much packed together. The only thing that's really straight from like the main storyline now is Cami is, you know, a new vampire. But so far everything else, especially with this episode, everything's automatically tied together. It's either Strix or it's Michelson stuff. And I guess technically Haley is also a little bit separated. And also the stuff where Camille mentions that she's in love with Elijah. I didn't think that was that big of a deal. It wasn't a shock or anything. It was obvious. It was interesting when she was like, you should just say it's a relief, and like you might as well say it's a relief and that you're not worried and stuff. That was kind of messed up, but once again, she could be a great villain if she wanted to be. But I definitely want to know what you guys think is going to happen with Davina working for the Strix and possibly bringing back Cole. Maybe soon, maybe not so soon. But I definitely want to know what you guys think about that. And of course, what you thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.